Hey everybody, it's episode 354 of PodQuest.
Hey.
It's Wednesday, June 2nd, 2021. I am Chris. With me is Drootin.
Hello.
And Walnut.
Hi.
How are you guys doing tonight?
I'm alright.
I had a day.
Yeah, your house is just falling apart. It's fine.
Yeah, gonna do some gaming when we're done here. Got the stream going.
Yeah, I saw you you streamed a few hours of No Man's Sky last night.
Yep, I'm doing Horizon Zero Dawn tonight.
Oh, nice. You don't have any, like, you didn't have a mic or anything set up, though, did you?
No, I mean, I could have just used my headset, but I got 2 viewers yesterday, so, like, and no comments, so there wasn't really a point in me really saying anything. I ran my phone with a second screen to where if somebody did comment, I could have just typed to them, but I was running it through the PlayStation 5, so it's a little wonky to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely limited. Like you said, you can use your headset. If you have the PS5 camera, you can turn the camera on to have your picture in picture. Mm-hmm. But like, depending on the game, so many things are blocked on there, and yeah, it's good for a way to just stream, but it's not necessarily like the ideal way to stream.
Mm-hmm. No, I did buy this thing called a Genki Shadowcast, which is just pretty much a USB dongle. Or an HDMI dongle that you plug into your system, and it has a USB port that you plug into your computer, and it's basically a capture card in itself. You download this quick program, and you can play games through that program or PC. I'm hoping that works, and I'll be able to, like, stream better using this thing.
How much was that?
$40. It's not bad at all.
Yeah, it's not bad, because the cheaper Elgato cards are like the external cards, not like the internal ones, are like 100, 150. So, like, if it doesn't work, you can always just save up and grab one of those, because those are basically the same thing. You just, there's 2 HDMIs on it and a USB. So it's like, console goes into it, it goes into the TV, or then it goes into your computer via USB, and you just, like, stream it through, like, OBS or what have you.
Yeah. Like, the thing I'm most worried about now is if my PC can handle it more so than if, like, it actually works.
I mean, considering how long it takes your PC to run health checks if we restart the recording on Zencastr, like, that would... And also, weren't you having issues with having video and audio running at the same time for Brose?
No. Oh, well, yes, but that was through the honorary 5th member of the Brose podcast, known as Zencastr. Their video program takes so much fucking CPU power that it was killing my computer. We now just run with normal Zencastr, with the VoIP through Google Meets or whatever Google's current.
We had done a few times.
Like whatever Google's current video chat program is. We just run it like that now, and like my CPU doesn't break 40%. Whereas when we were using Zencastr's video program, it was constantly breaking 100% and locking down my computer. Yeah,
that sucks. Though we never actually tried the video on Zencastr, so.
Yeah, it's I mean, you can't tell it to not record the video, so I think that was the issue. It was recording video and audio separately, but at the same time, and it was killing my CPU power. We've got a rest of a show to do.
Yeah. So before we run down what we're going to be doing, a little bit of housekeeping. What do you guys think of doing like a book club, but not books? I just don't have a better term for it.
So explain your idea further.
All right. So we go monthly, maybe bi-monthly if something's like just a little longer. And we rotate. Each of us picks a thing each month. Can be like a movie, can be like a season of something. Nothing more than like a regular 20 episode season, and something like that would definitely be like a 2-month stretch. This way, like, we have time. And the other thing I would throw out there, at least early on, is we'll stick to platforms that we all have access to. This way, like, at least while we're kind of like figuring it out and getting our feet wet, so to speak, none of us have to spend extra money. It's just, maybe like an hour or two here, an hour or two there over the course of a month or two to come up with just something that all three of us will have formulated some sort of opinion on.
I dig it. I can get behind that idea. This way, like, we all have, at least once a month, we all have something to talk about together, but Also, with the new format of the show, we should easily be able to get into things that we can all talk about together, but something we all ingested pretty much at the same time.
Yeah, and you figure if this is an example, so I'm not going to actually propose this one, but say like in July I proposed we watched like the first season of Arrow. I believe that's still on Netflix. I believe we all have Netflix, so like that would be fine. That's a 22 episode season. They're about 40 minutes apiece. So like that wouldn't be a watch in July and then record in August. That would be like a watch throughout July and August, record it in September. And then whoever is next in line would pick something like a movie or something to do in August, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah, this way, like, because I know none of us are exactly just like full schedules all the time, but I know like things happen. Like you can't always watch 20 hours of television in a few weeks, but like 8 weeks should be plenty of time for that. And if for some reason like we all ended up just finishing something very quickly, like we could always bump that timeline up by like a week or two depending on like how it falls. But you figure like we can always find like 2 hours to watch a movie. Like that should be easy enough.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Or we can watch a literal book, or not watch, read a literal book for this book club.
Well, I mean, Richie, with the way that you read, it probably is more like just watching the book, so...
Yeah, I just stare at the pages until they flip themselves.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I would say, like, something like a book or even, like, a graphic novel would actually be interesting to do. Probably something that we'd give a little extra time for, particularly, like, a novel.
Depends.
But also...
I mean, I just read a 240-page self-help book in a weekend.
Oh, I mean, I read books every night. So, like, depending on, like, the length of the book, like, it might take me a month to get through it. It might take me a week to get through it. So
240 pages would take me a couple of, maybe 2 weeks. I can't, how long? I think it took me a week to read that Batman book, and that was like 150.
How about, like, Goosebumps? Like, 120 pages.
I mean, those words are like 3 inches big, so I should be able to read that in a few days.
Okay.
I don't know.
But you figure, like, again, to like what I had said before, like, we can start with stuff that's not going to run us any extra money up front, just so, like, we're not spending money on something and then realizing, like, oh shit, like, this segment just doesn't really work.
Mm-hmm.
And I think between us, like, we all have Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought so, but Drew, I wasn't 100% with HBO with you. I knew you had the other three.
No, we have HBO Max because Sarah signed up for like the 6 months because In the Heights is premiering on there next week.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Actually, this is just a total side thing, and I'm not going to say much about it. Both of you should check out Mayor of Easttown. It's Mare, not like mayor, like the mayor of a town.
I've heard a lot about it.
It's really good. It's like it's a detective-y show. But it's local. It was filmed local. It's based in
Delco?
Either Delco or Chester. I forget which, but like that area.
Pretty sure it's Delco. Like 90% sure it's Delco.
It's a fictionalized. So I think if I remember what I read online, it's a fictionalized version of Easttown, not E-Town. However you say that other one, Easttown in Chester County, but the one in the show is based in Delaware County. But it's just like they make references to Wawa, and like their accents are mostly good, especially for like half the cast being British or Australian, and like sounding like they are like mostly from like the Philadelphia region.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like it's a miniseries. It's like 7 episodes. Like if you guys have time, like just because Sarah I think would actually like it a whole bunch, Drew, even if you wouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything, that's a recommendation for Sarah.
All right.
But yeah, so yeah, we'll start trying this whole book club idea. I'll try and come up with a better name for it than book club. If either of you guys have a better idea, like I'm all for it.
The book club works.
But yeah, we'll add a tab to that spreadsheet, and we can throw our ideas for stuff in there and kind of like go from there. And we'll rotate every month. We'll just keep a running tally of who suggested what in what month, and we'll just keep going. And Drew, like, if you want to recommend like a wrestling thing at some point down the road, when like we're a little more open to like subscribing to stuff, like that's your prerogative. You can make us watch fucking wrestling if you wanted to.
Look, it's gonna take me 2 or 3 months to get through a Raw or whatever.
Listen, it takes me 2 or 3 months to get through episodes.
Just like don't give us like a WrestleMania, because isn't that like a 32-hour day or something like that?
Oh no, it's now 2 4-hour nights or whatever.
I thought it was longer than the Super Bowl at this point. Like, thought it started at like 5 o'clock on Friday and just went till sometime Monday morning.
Fucking basically.
I know my first suggestion. The last episode of Campaign 2 of Critical Role for 7 hours.
I mean, we can do that. I feel like we're not going to get any of the fucking context.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're not at all going to get any of the context.
Oh god, that's tomorrow for you, isn't it?
Friday.
Oh,
Well,
right. It airs tomorrow. You watch it Friday.
Yeah, I'll be watching it Friday because there's no way in hell I'm waiting till 10 o'clock in the morning to stay up until 3 o'clock in the... No, I did the math wrong. Whatever. You guys know what I'm saying.
Yeah, 10 to 3 or 4 would be 10 to 5 if it's 7 hours.
Yeah. And then have to work the next day. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of those you just take the day off.
All of...
You just
Go ahead, Drootin.
You just go to bed after work tomorrow and then wake up at like 9:45, start watching it, and then like you're up for work the next day. Like
I would not be able to fall asleep after work immediately after work tomorrow. But I also have some D&D prep to do that I completely forgot about over the past 3 weeks. So that can't happen.
Oh yeah, no, that's... When do you guys play?
Friday.
Oh yeah, so no, you're gonna have to prep tomorrow so that you have your 8 hours on Friday to watch your first viewing of the finale.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Before we get too far off track, I'm gonna take this one since it was my idea. I'm gonna throw out the first fucking suggestion. This is gonna be a bad one. I apologize to both of you because I'm not excited for it either. We're gonna watch Terminator Dark Fate. It's on Hulu.
Okay.
That was the most recent one where they brought Linda Hamilton back. It's apparently not good, but I have seen every other Terminator movie except for that one, and I just feel like I have to see that one.
So it's a movie?
Yeah, Terminator.
Okay. Well, there was Terminator series and stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah, the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
And I'm sure that they probably have had other series. I don't know.
No, that's the only one. The Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Oh, you know what? We can go bad, and then we can go worse with the next month. I'll just suggest Monster Hunter, the movie.
I mean, if that's on a streaming platform, like, you can do it.
It's not, but look, we'll figure it. But no, I'm not going to suggest that yet.
I've been wanting. There is a whole realm of shitty, like, nerd movies that we could just do an entire separate thing about. I mean, you have the Assassin's Creed movie, the World of Warcraft movie, the Monster Hunter movie. What is
Mario
it? 14
Brothers?
Resident. Hey, Bob Hoskins was a national treasure, and it's not his fault that movie was terrible.
I'm not saying it was. It doesn't mean that movie isn't fucking terrible.
it's very bad.
I literally just did 30 weeks of that. Trust me, I know.
Yeah, no, that's true. But it's funny. I was only thinking about the recent stuff, but like, there's 14 Resident Evil movies, and that you guys remember Alone in the Dark?
Yeah,
what a fucking bad movie that was. It ended like at the beginning of the movie. Like, it just ended.
You know what? In honor of his new movie, I think I know what my next marathon's going to be.
Doom?
It's going to be Shyamalan movies.
Oh.
I like them. I like Shyamalan movies.
He had like 2 good ones.
And his new movie, Old, looks very interesting. You say he had 2 good ones, but have you seen any of the recent ones? What was the last Shyamalan movie you saw?
Oh, God, honestly, I don't know. It has actually been a long time since I've seen them, but Glass I didn't think it was interesting because I didn't really like Unbreakable all that much. Which I know I'm like the lone one out for that, or the odd one out for that one. I did want to see the other one, Split, which was like in that same sort of universe with James McAvoy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, you would have had to do Unbreakable, Split, and then Glass.
Well, no, because Split is totally separate unless you watch all of them together anyway. Like, you don't realize
Bruce Willis shows up at the end of Split.
Exactly, but I've seen Unbreakable, so like I don't have to watch Glass. But you know,
I mean, Glass is different. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. There was one other thing I wanted to bring up to you guys real quick. Patreon. Now, Rich.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Where can people find our Patreon?
You really think I thought about doing this and checking this? Because I completely forgot.
It's at patreon.com/OneQuest, of course.
There you go.
Come on, man. Drew doesn't even pay attention to half the show, and he knows.
I don't.
We just had a whole discussion asking him what his opinion was on something. He doesn't know what he agreed to. Oh.
Yeah, true.
So we don't really have a lot going on Patreon. We talk about it at the end of every episode. That's kind of it. What I'd like to do is, as things kind of like progress, find little ways to make that a little more appealing to people, rather than just, hey, you can give us $1 and the episode will be there too. It's also one free feed. So for the book club stuff, I was thinking maybe like having a tier that people could suggest things.
Sure.
And then how would you guys feel? And this would be more like the two of you, of doing something maybe like quarterly, like nothing too like, too frequent, at least unless it gets very popular, doing something like D&D related.
I
will play more D&D when fucking ever.
Yeah, you don't have to ask if I want to play more.
Yeah, I was thinking, because people really like the actual play stuff, and I figure it's something that if once every like 3 months or something like that, it's like, I mean, how long do you guys do like an ongoing campaign usually? Like at a 4 hours, like a session, give or take?
Yeah.
3 to 4 hours, depending on the group and and the start time and shit. Like if we start at like 7 o'clock, we'll probably go like at least till 10 or 11. If we start later, it'll probably be shorter. But yeah, I mean, I have a campaign that starts 10 o'clock Eastern and usually doesn't end until 3 o'clock.
Jesus.
And I mean, we've had games, the two of us, Eric and Vogel, where we've started at like 6 and not ended till like 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes between getting into it and then just having to take breaks and kind of getting off course with other bullshit, like, things happen.
Yeah, but like, and I'm gonna use this term loosely, I don't actually mean scripted, but a scripted thing such as this, and like, we could keep it down to 3 hours a session.
Well, so what I was actually going to say is, if, like, quarterly, I just keep using quarterly because it's an easy thing to kind of work at. If, like, every quarter there was, like, a 4-hour session that got broken out into maybe 4 individual hours, assuming that, like that assuming that worked, then it could, there's a couple different ways to do it depending on if we have actual Patreon support at that point or not. We could release each episode, like, weekly on Patreon, and then maybe, like, after all 4 episodes of that, like, session have been released, like, they can go into free feeds. Or, like, Patreon could potentially get, like, the whole 4 hours, and then, like, over the course of the next month, they go up on the free feeds. So, like, like, there's different ways to kind of do it based on, like, what sort of support we're getting for it. Because, again, like, the only way that a lot of that stuff works is if we get some support just to pay for hosting. Like, I'm not necessarily looking for people to, like, give us thousands and thousands of dollars, though. If you want to give us thousands of dollars, like, Richie and I could use new computers to be able to do more cool stuff.
The more money we get, the more likelihood we can, like, stream it live and record it video-wise and post, like, D&D is fun listening to, D&D is fun watching. So, like, it would make, if we get more money, we can do more stuff. But just to help with hosting is nice as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's sort of, like, I was trying to think of things like that, like little things that we don't necessarily have to, we all have day jobs. So, like, it's not things that we have to, like, carve out, like, chunks of time every week to try and, like, fit in. But it's things that, can be done over the course of, like, a weekend, like, every couple of weeks, every couple of months, what have you. And, like, give us, like, that little, like, buffer of content to, like, have things, basically.
Yeah. Look, I'm all for it, and if we play, you have to make a legit character, think about what they look like and things like that. You can't just...
Oh, no, this was for you guys, not for me.
No, you have to be part of it. You have to be part of it.
Well, while we're talking about potential Patreon ideas, I have an idea that I've bounced around for a long time in my head, but would definitely require us to have a semi-legit video streaming setup. And it's to kind of come up with some sort of a gaming competition between the three of us. Like, pick a level in a game, like the levels from a game or whatever, and go across genres, since we like to give each other shit about getting good at games.
Kind of like the thing they do at PAX.
Yeah.
Where, like, a bunch of people, like enter it, and it's like, oh, like, maybe you're playing Street Fighter and Tetris and a fucking crane game or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. Or, like, fucking who can beat Mario Brothers 1 the fast ever. That kind of, just those kind of, throw all those things together, and like it could be an ongoing, like once a month we get together and here's the fucking thing we're playing this month, and we have a running fucking tally or whatever.
So far, everything I'm hearing about this is, Richie, you're gonna lose. Fighting game, Mario Bros. Like.
What, Cobb? What have we said to Richie about games?
Get good.
Exactly.
I am bad at platformers. You know that. I just can't get good. I can't.
It's practice. Practice makes perfect.
You know what? As long as we get to play some Souls games or some shit like that in there, then
I'm sure we could find some fucking thing to do in like a Souls Bloodborne type game.
We all own Bloodborne. I can't get past the first area, but we all own it.
Yeah.
We could definitely do a Patreon users decide each of our builds or our select build, and whoever can get to the first boss, which I believe is Cleric Beast, and defeat them first would win.
Yeah, and honestly, like stuff like that is if we all have set like PC setups that can handle streaming video and audio at the same time, which Drew, right now you're the only one that does.
Mm-hmm.
That actually isn't that hard to do, because like we can all just grab our PlayStations, run it through like a capture card, and then throw it in. Like we would all just one of us would run it through like OBS, basically. Like it's not as hard as it might sound. It would take a little bit of like tweaking and stuff like that for like ones like that, but then like anything multiplayer we can always just do in the same place.
And yeah, I mean, honestly, I think all of it would be more fun all together doing it.
Oh, I mean, that's true.
Know, like, even if it's just like
pass the controller.
Yeah, pass the controller to speedrun Mario.
Yeah, I mean, it again, it all depends on what we're playing. If we're doing like a PlayStation game, it has native streaming. It's not that great, but we can make it work.
Right.
If like this, like I was talking, I guess before the show, I just bought this thing called the Genki Shadowcast, which is just a USB dongle that plugs into your system, or an HDMI dongle that plugs into your system. You plug a USB into that and plug it into your computer, and you should be able to play games on your computer and cast from that. So it's reasonable and it's possible. We would have to decide what the tournament and challenges are going to be.
Yeah.
And then give me time to practice some of the platforming.
No, you gotta go. I'm not gonna practice Bloodborne. You're not practicing Mario.
How can I get good if you don't let me practice time?
Trial by fire.
Your entire life to get good at Mario.
Look, just because Cobb is choosing not to practice Bloodborne doesn't mean I don't have to choose to not practice Mario. I'm choosing to practice. I mean, practice. Talk about practice? You know that. You know that reference.
Yes.
I do not.
It's Allen
Iverson. Jakes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know who Allen Iverson is. Like,
it was they were asking him a question at a press conference about practice and like why he didn't show up or something.
Was this when he came back to the Sixers like a decade ago or whatever that was?
No, this was in like his original run.
Yeah.
Oh.
And so they're asking him like why didn't you show up to practice? You know you're going to get fined or something. I don't know, something stupid. I'm sure Drootin probably knows more than I do. But he just turns around and he's just like, "Come on, like it's practice. Practice. We're talking about practice. Practice. Like, come on, we're talking about practice, not a game. Practice."
All right, that sounds like Iverson. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just to circle back around, if people want to see us do like more varied content, head over to patreon.com/onequest. Like, give us $1, whatever you can. The more we can get off of there, the more we can sort of bulk up things, get more, like, we have a finite amount of hosting space on Libsyn, so the more hosting space we want, the more that costs per month. But yeah, so help us out if you can. If you can't, I understand, but you know, and if you guys have any other ideas for like other sort of like content, like, even if it's just more podcasts, like Drew, if you wanted to do wrestling again at some point, like, I know, like you said before, like wrestling's really not good right now. So, but like, if you wanted to talk about wrestling in 2 hours a month or something like that, like, fucking go for it.
Yeah.
Anyway, though, Rich, what is on the agenda for tonight?
So today we have about 4 main topics that we're going to talk about. First, we all played the Scarlet Nexus demo that's out on PlayStation 5 and probably all consoles.
Just PlayStation.
Just PlayStation, okay. I didn't know. I didn't really look too much into it. We're going to talk about that. Then Monster Hunter Rises final update for a while was released last week. I played it. I'm going to talk about that. Plus, I've got a question about it afterwards to propose to these guys. Drootin, you finished Hannibal, so we're going to have a discussion about that. And Cobb, you watched Gundam 00, correct?
Yes.
So we'll talk about that as well.
Cool. So what did you guys think of Scarlet Nexus?
It was.
I want to know. Yeah, I want to know what Drootin thought.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I don't know. It was fine. It's not a game I would buy. Based on that demo. Like, I don't know. I didn't feel like the combat was particularly special.
It's like I said in our group chat. It's a Bandai Namco game that they really want to be a platinum game, like an A-team platinum game.
Yeah.
Like it felt like, at least with the female character, I can't remember the characters' names. They were super anime names, so they're going to be hard to remember. But with the female character, she was like slow and kind of clunky, and just the combat didn't quite feel right. But when I did play with the male character, it did feel a little bit more comfortable. I'm not sure. Cobb, you said you played with the male character. Drootin, who'd you play with?
The male character.
Okay. It does have some interesting mechanics with the R2 using your psychosis to pull things. And, like, if you hit an attack and then hit R2, like, the thing you pull can potentially hit things twice.
Hey, Rich, just to roll back real quick. It's psychokinesis, psychosis, totally different thing.
It's all the same. It's all the same. You know. The setting is very interesting. But overall, it was, I played only the beginning portion of the guy's demo because I played the female demo first. And the dialogue was exactly the same for both. So I was like, all right, I don't need to play much more than just to get a feel for the character. But, like, the abilities seem cool. They, like, I don't know. I didn't hate it. But this is definitely not a game I'm going to get right away.
Oh, yeah, like, I didn't hate it either. It also totally does not surprise me that the mission audio stuff was no different at all. Like, they didn't seem to put too big of an emphasis on the characters being any different on the character select screen.
Yeah, it's
not
that game. The little bit that you play in the demo reminded me a lot of Astral Chain, which was the Switch Platinum game that came out 2019.
Okay, yeah,
yeah.
Only I really liked Astral Chain. My biggest complaint with it, and it was a very similar setup. You picked the male or the female protagonist. Rather than it just being identical dialogue, only the other protagonist had any dialogue. So if you picked the male, only the female talked. If you picked the female, only the male talked. But the story basically plays the same regardless. They're brother and sister. So, like, it's just you. If you're the female, she's just talking about her brother the whole time, and vice versa. But it's a very similar, like, weird monsters to fight. You use, like, special abilities that only certain people have. In Astral Chain, it was like you got bonded with the beasts from this other plane. In Scarlet Nexus, you get the, like, people have, superpowers basically. And, like, in Astral Chain, so in Scarlet Nexus, you have those like your R1 abilities where, like, it's the other NPCs on your team. You can borrow their abilities, whether it's like improved defense or like a fire attack or going invisible and, like, going through things or what have you. In Astral Chain, it was, well, as you play, you just unlock the different beasts that former members of this unit used to have, and you would just change to them, and they all had a different fighting style. Yeah. I enjoyed the concept of this game more than I probably enjoyed playing it, just because, like, the combat felt very generic. There wasn't. It felt generic and not great. Like, I feel like I need to remap the buttons on it, because stuff just didn't feel natural for the way that, like, attacks and everything were working. I only just actually looked up the Wikipedia to read, like, the synopsis for the story. I don't know if either of you guys checked this out.
Fuck no.
So, ready? Set in the near future and an alternate reality where humanity develops technology and forms society based on the substances found in human brains.
Okay.
These substances also grant humans extrasensory superpowers. The other suppression force or OSF, recruits members with supernatural abilities to protect humanity from the others, mindless monsters descending from the extinction belt.
Wait, wasn't the one fucking meter just called Brain, too, now that you mentioned that?
I think so. And
I can't. There were like 2 meters, and I couldn't really track either of them. Like the psychokinesis, the 1 meter fell anytime you used the R2, and the other one gained, but it slowly fell as you weren't in combat. And like I would need more time with the game to like really fully understand it.
Yeah, I think the demos did a good job of showing like what the combat looked like and what like the game looks like, but it obviously didn't have enough in it to really like let you know like what sort of depth there is to it.
I went. Did you go into the menus at all?
Not really, no.
I went into the start menu after my characters got a level up, and I was looking at the level. It's a sphere grid, and it is intense.
Right. No, I did look at that.
Yeah. It is huge sphere grid for your character's abilities, and it is nuts.
Okay.
Yeah, I looked at it, and I was like, should I bother leveling up my character? No, fuck it. If I die, I die. This is a fucking demo. Who cares? I'm not going to try to understand what's going on in here for this demo real quick. Like,
yeah.
If I had the full game, I'd care more, but they also probably would have given a tutorial for it. Whereas,
exactly.
Like, this grid was nuts.
I mean, the little bit I looked through the grid, it was pretty generic. It was like 5% increase to melee attack.
I don't mean like what you get. I just mean like the looks of it.
All right.
I opened the menu, saw the grid, was like, nope, and left.
Fair.
And you know when like sphere grids like that, or just like level grids or skill trees or whatever you want to call them, get big like that, it gets hard. It becomes just daunting because even if like you said, Drew, like it's like 5% this or extra that, like you still find yourself like going through like long chains of things to see what that path leads to. Like I had a similar problem with what was the last one? Shadow of the Tomb Raider had an unnecessarily complex skill tree.
Yeah.
That was just like there was too much on it for that sort of game. I have a bad tendency of like demos and stuff like that of not going into any of those things because I figure if I like the game enough, I'm going to buy the game. And the game, like you said, Rich, is going to have some sort of tutorial at some point that explains that to you. And they're going to do a better job explaining it to me than I'm going to do of just stumbling the fuck through it.
Yeah, true.
I also, this is funny, I just noticed this. So this game the demo is only available on PS4 and PS5. This game was announced during the Xbox 2020 last May.
Fun.
So, yeah, I thought that was funny. But so it's coming to Windows, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S. Not coming to Switch as of right now. Even though, like, I feel like this would probably be a decent Switch game. Like, it doesn't seem too advanced. Like I said, it feels very much like Astral Chain, like at least in like aesthetics.
I mean, it looked pretty nice. Like, I can't say it looked amazing, but I don't know that. Granted, I haven't looked at a shit ton on the Switch. I don't know that it would run on a Switch well, though.
I mean, like I said, it looks very similar to Astral Chain. Astral Chain also had a lot going on, and that game ran perfectly fine, at least to me. Like, I never noticed any, like, bad slowdowns. It did run. I preferred playing it on the TV. Like, there was too much to play in handheld, but it was still doable.
Mm-hmm.
And, yeah. Also, this, I'm just finding this out, too. Back in March, it was announced this game is getting an anime adaptation.
Fucking, of course it is. It's already an anime.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm totally not surprised on that. I'll keep an eye on that to try to watch it because I do want to get back into more anime that I haven't really been watching.
I have recommendations for you if you want them.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to premiere July 1st. It's being done by Sunrise, which is the Gundam studio, ironically enough. And it was licensed by Funimation for outside of Asia. So whether we get it as some sort of like simulcast or whether it's just something that Funimation eventually puts on their platform, not sure. But yeah, and the game itself comes out June 25th. So 23 days from now, 22 from when this show goes live.
Yeah, it's that's the same day as Mario Golf, so I'm not getting this game because I'm getting Mario Golf.
I don't think I'm getting this. My birthday's right around there, though. And other than Ratchet and Clank, there aren't a whole lot of other games I'm interested in. So
Ratchet and Clank is like the day after or the day before.
Yeah, it's like right in that same ballpark, and it's like
Yeah.
both of them are interesting. So like this one, like Scarlet Nexus in particular, feels more like one of those games where I want to see what the reviews are for it. If for nothing else, then to see the review scores of people that I know have similar takes to mine. Like, I don't give a fuck what Metacritic says, but like, depending on like who reviews it at like IGN or GameSpot or like Game Informer or what have you, like if certain people review this game and give it like a 7 or an 8, like I'm probably going to be a little more inclined to check it out sooner rather than just waiting until like it's on like a cheap Xbox or PSN sale. Or even better, if it goes on fucking Game Pass. Like, that would be great. I don't expect it to happen up front, but like I'd be all for that. Because sorry, I wasn't going to say anything else. You can go ahead.
No, it's just I'm trying to remember a name of a game that you guys told me to get that I know is on sale on PlayStation, and I'm like, I'm also not going to get this because of this other super anime RTS game that has a ridiculous name.
Aegis something.
Yeah, I thought it was like Aegis Titan or something like that. I can't remember what it's called.
13 Sentinels Aegis Rim.
That's it. I'm pretty sure I saw it on sale.
It is on sale.
PlayStation right now.
Yep. I keep looking at it on the PSN. I'm like, it's on sale for like half off.
Yeah.
Should I buy it or should I just wait?
But then I'm also like, do I want to just not get it and get all the DLC for City Skylines,
which is also on sale?
Yeah, and it's like it's way half off. It's way cheaper than like even thinking about getting the game on Steam.
Yeah, because I think it's usually $100 on PlayStation. It's like $60 right now.
It's $40.
Oh, is it only $40? Jesus.
Yeah, it's $40. And I have a $25 gift card, so it's $15.
There you go.
I would go for that over 13 Sentinels. I think you in particular would like 13 Sentinels based on everything I've heard about it. Mm-hmm. But that's also sort of game where like it's going to go on sale again. Like it's only like a year old.
It's going to go on sale again, and it's a game that I can win.
Exactly. But so how was Monster Hunter Rise's final, with in air quotes, update?
Fucking bullshit, man.
Drew and I have been telling you that for years.
But that's the thing. The game wasn't bullshit. It was just like how they released this game was bullshit, and like they tried to blame COVID, which I maybe, but it was straight up. They realized they're not going to support this game like they did Monster Hunter World, so they had to find a way to quote support it like they did like Monster Hunter World by releasing the ending in installment. Like I boot the game up. And the first thing that happens to me as the game is loading is, like, the leader of the town saying, hey, go fight the final boss. There's no preamble to it or anything. It's, like, the base game ended with a cutscene of, like, the two twins in the town, like, saying this little trancy thing that they were under. Or, like, this little, like, a tale about the twins or whatever. And then there was, like, no story content from that to this DLC, but the previous DLC had new monsters to fight and shit. It was so dumb what they did. And the final fight is the two big monsters together. It's one of them and then another, which sounds alright, that's fine, but like you're in the same arena that you fought. So the monsters are Narwa and Ibushi. Narwa is the lightning serpent, Ibushi is the wind serpent. Your arena that you're fighting in this final fight is the same arena you fought Narwa in the base game. And when you defeat her, she falls into the ground and there's this huge hole. Then when you fight Ibushi at the beginning of this fight, the hole is fucking covered up. And you fight Ibushi, who then, when you get him down to just a few more hits, falls and creates a giant fucking hole that Narwa is in. And so you jump down into this hole. There's a couple gun placements that you can take and just kill Ibushi with, and then you have to fight Narwa, who's got a bullshit Nova attack and just got some stupid abilities, and it's just it was the worst fight. Like, I texted, you guys won't get this reference or won't really care, but in Monster Hunter Tri for the Wii, they incorporated swimming, and like you could actually swim underwater. And the final boss fight in that game was a giant bearded like dragon.
Wait, could you not swim in Monster Hunter before that?
No, you can't swim now.
Even in World?
Even in World.
What happens if you go into the water?
You any water is generally like waist high.
Oh.
Like you can't go into deep water. If there's water on the level, it's waist high. There's no swimming in Monster Hunter.
I mean, I guess that kind of makes sense with, like, you're supposed to be, like, wearing this, like, giant armor, so, like, you would fucking sink and die.
They might have had it in another version since Tri, but I don't think it was as needed and in depth as it was in Tri. And swimming sucked. And this final boss fight, fighting this giant bearded dragon monster thing underwater, was the worst because it was 4D. It was all over, like, it was like X, Y, X. It was all the axes. It wasn't just a flat plane. Like, you had to move all over the place, and it was the worst. I texted somebody and said, I'd rather do that fucking fight than do this fight ever again. It's
wow.
Just, the music sucked. Like, Monster Hunter, I don't care what you have to say. Monster Hunter has some fucking awesome music. Like, they have some great music. And the final boss fight was just this boring, beautiful song if you're not in a fight song. But it was just boring and slow. And I'm like, I'm trying to get into this intense fight mode. And it's just like boring song. It sucked.
Yeah, like soft, like slow. Like, I'm assuming it was like slower, soft music.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense for like a fight.
For like
Not
it
at all.
makes sense. Like, it kind of works in like a normal RPG, like a turn-based RPG, kind of.
Depending.
But also, but it has to be a tense moment. Like, my favorite moment in gaming is in Final Fantasy IX, when you're just playing as Zidane going through all those fights. And, like, it's that sad music, because he's finding out that, like, he's basically nothing or whatever. Like, or he's a clone or whatever it was. Like, that is, like, my favorite moment in gaming. The music's great, you get that feeling, and it's awesome. But this, like, there was no supposed to be, like, somber feeling. You were saving the fucking world. Why is it somber? Why are you giving me this somber fucking music?
And there is a difference between, like slow and somber during, like, an action sequence, and, like, somber but intense during a sequence like that.
Yeah, and it was slow and somber, and it was boring. And then halfway through the fight against Narwa, Magnamalo pops out, just so that they can force feed you the wyvern riding that was one of the big mechanics in this game. They wanted to make sure you had one chance to wyvern ride against the final fucking boss. So this monster, the flagship monster of this game, just pops out and is just like, all right, ride me, and we'll fight this thing together, which was stupid. And then after you actually finish it, which it took me 3 fucking tries because it fucking sucks. After you finish it, you are now hunter rank capped to level 100 to get the next Elder Dragon that they incorporated, which was Crimson Valstrax that I showed you guys last week. Like, it's just, overall, it was just disappointing. I spent 75 hours in this game. It's a fun game, but, like, overall, just disappointing.
I still think it's kind of wild that it came out about a month ago, right?
2 months ago at this point.
Oh, was it April that it came out?
It was, late April.
Okay, so just over.
No. It was, late March.
Oh,
March 26th.
Okay. Okay. So, like, in those 2-ish months, you have not really said anything positive about it on the show, but still managed to play it for 75 hours.
But it's, and that's the thing, like, it still is Monster Hunter. And, like, it has the Monster Hunter formula, and it is enjoyable to play. But overall, it's just they dropped the ball. It is, like, in my opinion, one of the lower Monster Hunter games in a sense of like more story wise and release wise and development than it is gameplay wise. Like gameplay, like they added some really cool features with the wire bug and things like that, but they took away some of the cooler features from Monster Hunter World and excluded some of the features from like Generations and I believe it was Generations that had the limits or whatever they were called. I can't remember. Like they did some cool things, and overall, they're like there's things that work in this game, but just in the end, it just it doesn't work to like it doesn't satisfy.
Which, like, that's a bummer, just because you were very excited for this going in.
Yeah, and that brings me to the question that I'm gonna propose, and I have to thank my other podcast, Brose Podcast, because this was suggested by a listener. They only gave their initials DF, so thanks DF for giving me content on now 2 podcasts. But what is the most disappointing game that you've played? It's not necessarily the worst. It doesn't have to have been a bad game, but it was just most disappointing. And I have 2 for me: Monster Hunter Rise and Outriders. They're the 2 within the past 4 months.
Now, do you think that you have those 2 because they're so recent that they're just in memory, or
right? I mean, they're the most recent. Yes, I can't think of like at this point I can't think of games that like if I didn't like them or were disappointed by them, I wouldn't have continued to play them. But like I'd continue to play Outriders when they fix the bugs. I'll continue.
They fixed the bugs? Because everything I see every time there's a new patch, it's like everyone fucking hates this patch. They hate the game even more.
I mean, I haven't looked at Outriders in a while because there's still issues with crossplay. And I only know 2 people that play that game, and they're on PC, and I don't want to run the risk of them losing their shit or me losing my shit while playing the game, so it's not worth playing. It's like, and it's disappointing because overall the game I thought had promise, but I talked about it on the show. They just did a whole fuck you with the end story. It's like, oh yeah, the only reason, this signal that you've been searching for the past 30 years for, it's actually just like humans got to this planet 10 years before you did, because 20 years after you left Earth, they built a faster ship and got here first. Like, fuck you. It was just, and then they have this whole thing with the anomaly that they like, it makes you hate humans because humans killed all of the creatures that keep the anomaly in check. And
of course.
And then the final boss you fight twice. And after you kill him, and if I remember correctly, you flat out shoot him in the head, he's somehow still a fuck alive. And like in the final cutscene, he's still alive. And it's just like, well, this game was fucking stupid. Like story-wise and shit, it's stupid. I had fun playing it. It wasn't a terrible game, but I was just disappointed with, like, the outcome.
Hey guys, I just need to cut in for a second. It's officially summer. Mr. Softy's here.
Yeah, I mean, he's been coming around for a while, for like at least 2 months.
Oh, see, they haven't really been in my neighborhood. Like, there were like 2 warm days where like they came through my neighborhood, but that's it so far.
Actually, not 2 months, maybe like a month and a half. But yeah, so what about you guys? Like, disappointing games, not necessarily bad, but like something you looked forward to, that you played, that you enjoyed, but in the end, just overall, just left a bad taste in your mouth.
Drew, I know you said yesterday that you had one that popped into your head right away.
Yeah.
What was yours?
I bought a system to play this fucking game. It's Final Fantasy Tactics Advance.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Did you really buy your...
Yeah, that's when I finally got a GBA, was when that came out. And, like, the SPs had, like, just come out, or had maybe been out a little bit. But, like, I got the red Game Boy Advance SP and that game, like, the same day, I'm pretty...
Okay. Yeah. I remember, like, that it was a fun game. It worked, but it just... Like, the story was just kind of bland and stupid. Like, these kids open a book.
Yeah, fucking Final Fantasy Tactics is my favorite game of all time. To me, Final Fantasy Tactics is a fucking damn near perfect game.
Yeah, I would agree. It is a near perfect game.
There are very few people that have anything bad to say about the original Tactics.
The story is fucking amazing and, like, deep and adult-ish, like, especially by comparison. The job system's amazing, like, the freedom you have in all going around and just overpowering your characters if you feel like it, you can. They took away... The only thing I liked that they did in Tactics Advance was you kind of got to set up the world map however you wanted.
Yeah.
Like, you would put down the different places, like,
Mm-hmm.
as the story progressed.
Yeah, they took, like, an of mana type,
Yeah.
way to it. Like, most of those games, you plot out the world as you play. You choose what dungeons open and stuff.
But then they limited the jobs based on races, and then the fucking judge system was...
I was about to say, wasn't that the game that added those horrendous fucking judges?
Yeah, like, you could wind up in a fight where it's like, white magic and items are banned, so
Yeah.
guess you can't fucking heal the entire fight.
Yeah.
Hope
And
nobody
that's when
dies.
it's like, those are the ones where it's like, all right, well, I'm just going to turn this off and turn it back on and hope I saved recently.
Yeah, well, but also, like, I mean, you could then hopefully be able to, like, move your way around and avoid a fight to have the laws change, but theoretically you could be completely fucked and have no choice, because it's on a, like, set thing. Like, if you were... The law changed every day, or what, I'm pretty sure, and every time you moved one space was a day. So you could be in a spot where you only had one place to move to the one fight to do, and hey, you now know the laws are going to be fucked. Good luck.
Now, did you ever play the DS one, like A2 or whatever they called it?
I didn't, because I hated the first one so much.
I mean, same here. Like, I was really excited for Advanced, and then that one came out, and I kind of forgot that one even came out, to be honest with you.
I beat Advanced by accident. Like, I didn't realize I was going to the final fight area when I did.
I don't think I even made it that far into it. Like,
Oh, I mean, fucking, like, I love tactical RPGs like that, so I stuck with it. Like, I cheesed the shit out of the game and stopped giving a damn about the story super fast, because, like Richie said, it's, these kids go into a book. What the fuck ever.
Yeah.
And, like, I think I picked the last area by accident, and then once you go to it, you can't. It was like, you can't go back, and I'm like, well, whatever. And then the final fight was like, okay. Well, I beat it. Good. I don't ever have to play this game again. Let me go play the first tactic 5 more times.
Which is fair. And, like, you can play that game on your phone now.
Yeah, fucking have it on my one tablet. I should maybe start playing it this week while at work, while I have no loans. Maybe that's what I'll do all week. Play through
Play a
Final Fantasy
24-year-old game. Did you have any other things that kind of, like, popped out at you?
No, that's the only one that jumped out to me. That is the, like, platonic ideal of a disappointing game. That is, to me, what Monster Hunter Rise is to Richie, but probably even...
So,
yeah.
I have a couple. Some, like, I kind of have them in, like, different, like, levels of disappointment, though. So, I have stuff like Mario 3D All-Stars and the Crown Tundra DLC for Pokemon.
Okay.
I thought both of those were disappointing for kind of similar reasons. Like, Nintendo just phoned it in with both of them in a lot of ways. With 3D All-Stars, they did nothing to the games. Like, they didn't have to go through and do, like, full, like, HD remasters or anything crazy, but, like, they didn't even make it so that you could change your fucking controller layout for Sunshine up front. Yeah. And it's like, some people can play that game with inverted controls, other people fucking can't. And I realized, like, 20 years ago when that game came out, like, people didn't really care, but, like, you know, accessibility is a fucking thing now, and I realize inverted versus not inverted isn't, like, that much of an accessibility issue, but, like, it's still a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no kind of just anything done to those games. They were just fucking ROMs, basically, of the original games. And that was a bummer for $60 for games that were all 15 to 25 years old. And then Crown Tundra, like, Rich, I think we kind of had a similar opinion on this. The Isle of Armor was actually interesting. Like the environment was interesting. The characters they introduced were interesting. There's like a little bit of a story arc to it. Like, it made it worth doing. Crown Tundra kind of lost all of that. Like, the little bit of a story arc up there was not interesting at all. It was all just about finding these legendaries and catching them, and it kind of like took away from them being legendary.
Yeah, and that's like my thought on Pokemon in general when it comes to Pokemon. It's like there's too many fucking legendaries. For them to all be in this one area, like 90% of them to all be in this one area, like, yeah, it definitely takes it away.
Yeah, and for so many of the Pokemon that, like, I was actually interested in seeing in this game to be locked behind that, Dynamax cave bullshit,
Yeah.
like, I hated that entire system. I hated going into that with Pokemon that you couldn't pick. I hated having to do it with strangers because it's impossible to get a fucking team in that game of actual human beings.
Yeah.
And to get to the end and have any hope of actually catching something was, like, slim unless you actually had 3 other human beings playing because the AI all sucked and basically shut up with fucking Magikarps.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like, that, like, to go from, like, Sword and Shield was, it had a lot of flaws, but I think it also succeeded in a lot of ways. And I enjoyed Isle of Armor, like, what they did with that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, you get to the Crown Tundra DLC, and it's like, oh, so you guys just kind of gave up halfway through this, huh?
And, like, I kind of agree with that with all of Pokemon Sword and Shield. Like, I feel like they just phoned it in for pretty much the entire thing. Like, we had lengthy discussions about how, like, it just didn't feel right. They made it too easy. There was no actual, like, puzzles. And, like, that game as a whole was what, like, is, like, what's the word? Is like the heart of this question. It was a good game. It was enjoyable. It was fun. But it was disappointing because they missed out on a lot of things that people wanted.
Yeah, I'd have definitely considered that more disappointing if I had higher expectations for it. But definitely can see that game being disappointing. Like,
yeah, and
I beat it, but whatever. Like, I have zero drive to, like, go through and fucking catch all the Pokemon.
Yeah, and, like, I enjoyed at least the world and seeing all the Pokemon in it enough that, like, I did catch them all in the base game. I may have actually caught everything in Isle of Armor, too. But then by the time it came to, like, the Crown Tundra, it was just like, yeah, this environment isn't even all that interesting.
Mm-hmm. And like, for me, I lost it when it... Like, I had most of the Pokemon in Isle of Armor, and then kind of gave up because the RNG for catch rate was too fucking broken. It's just broken.
Oh yeah, like and unfortunately that has been Pokemon games for a very long time, like the catch rate just being horrendous. But this was definitely one of those games where, like Sword and Shield as a whole, they definitely aimed it more at, like, children, which I get it, like, it is a children's game, but enough adults in that, like, between, like, teenager and adulthood play these games because they've been playing them since they were children, that, like, have some difficulty settings. Like have ways that a more advanced player can make it more challenging. Because I think it was, like, Black and White 2 had difficulty levels. Like, you could actually, like, pick how hard you want it to be.
Yeah.
I mean, just do what I did and make a team of all inanimate objects. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, like, you basically have to do shit like that to make it challenging.
Yeah.
I
but
mean,
even that, at that point where I kind of tried to make it arbitrarily hard, it fucking wasn't.
Yeah.
Like, I started with, like, a team where I was just like, all right, I just want to pick cool Pokemon that I catch. And I'm not going to get rid of any Pokemon I like. So once I get 6 that I like, that's it. I'm not going to swap them out or anything at any point. But then, yeah, I did the dog team. What was I working on after that? I can't remember what my next team was. But yeah, I started, like, next Pokemon game, I might go for a Nuzlocke first run. Because, like, that'll make it difficult.
Yeah, and, like, why not?
And that's what I know, buddy, Evan, he ran it Nuzlocke first run. He's like, this game isn't going to be that hard. I'm going to Nuzlocke it first run. Just see where I go from there.
Yeah, and, like, honestly, like, that is a decent way to make it more challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a few others on here. They're going to be very quick ones, though, except for the last one.
Okay.
Marvel's Avengers, but specifically, like, the pre-launch and beta stuff. Because by the time I actually played the game for real, like, I knew what it was. Like, I knew what I was getting into. But, like, I was excited for that game before they started showing it off. I'm like, oh, that's great. Crystal Dynamics doing an Avengers game. Like, this is going to be a story-driven, like, action RPG like they have been doing. And then, like, as, like, they started showing more and talking about it more, and then, like, the beta happened and all, it's like, oh, no, that is not what this game is at all. What a huge fucking disappointment.
I would argue that, like, I see what you're saying, and I understand it. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I would argue that that is not necessarily... It is in line with the question, but, like, I was having a discussion with in a group chat about Final Fantasy VII. How they complain that it's an incomplete game. And I'm like, that's the coldest take. You took the terms Final Fantasy VII Remake as remaster, and it's not a remaster. And that's on you. And I think I kind of feel the same with, like, you expected more than what it was going to be. And then it became a disappointment towards you, because you were wanting more than what it was.
That is valid.
But also, disappointments are all based on expectation. Like, if you have a low bar for a thing, you can't fucking be disappointed by it. Like,
I mean, you can.
But like and like I said, in the heart of the question, it's like you played it, you thought it was a good game, but it was a disappointment. This is, you thought it was going to be something different, and disappointed that it wasn't what you thought it was going to be. So like I understand what you're saying, and I agree, but I also, like, it's like a give and take with this question, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, and, like, I don't disagree with you. That's why I said that one, like, was kind of like a quick one.
Yeah.
Then I have Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
People love that game. Have either of you guys ever played any of it?
I don't fucking like Rockstar's games, so
yeah,
no.
I'm kind of realizing I don't either. So, like, people love the original Red Dead Redemption. Before Red Dead 2 ever came out, I had picked up a copy of the first one on 360, like, used at GameStop super cheap. And I popped it in, and I started playing it, and it was just so disappointing how just uninteresting and unfun that game was for me. Like, it was like a 7 or 8 year old game at the time. So, like, I realized, like, I was looking at it as, like, well, modern games don't play this way, but I was trying to give it the benefit of the doubt at the same time. It's just, it was very slow. The controls were kind of janky. Like, the characters were interesting, but not fun. Like, I had there was nothing about that game that made me want to experience the rest of it.
Yeah.
Which, like, now that like, that really is very much like Rockstar. Like, I remember trying to play Grand Theft Auto 4 and just not getting into it.
Same.
I played a lot of 3 and Vice City, but it was always just with cheats running around just doing stupid shit.
Yeah. I mean, most of the time when I'm playing a Rockstar game like Grand Theft Auto, it's like, I'll play and I'll go through the story for about 4, 5, 6 hours, and then I'm just like, alright, I'm done with the story, and I turn it on, find a hooker, have sex, kill her to get my money back, and then just do stupid shit around the city. Like, it's just what you do in Grand Theft Auto. Like, you know you're bored when you decide to follow traffic.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I always did that in Grand Theft Auto, because it's just like, I'm done. Like, this game got me for a bit, but it doesn't hook me. And, like, I've been watching videos of Grand Theft Auto 5 where I'm like, kind of want to get into that, but at the same time, I don't know enough people that play it online to make it worthwhile.
And that's apparently where the fun is in that game, is Grand Theft Auto Online.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Because, I mean, a lot of it is also you're just bullshitting with your friends.
Yeah.
In the GTA Online.
Yeah, exactly. So then the other one I have is Final Fantasy 12.
Yo, fuck Final Fantasy 12. That game sucks.
So Final Fantasy 12 came out, I want to say, in 2006-ish.
Was it that late?
I think so, because maybe it was a little before that. Maybe it was like 05. I think it was pre-PS3. I'm gonna look real quick. Because it's a PS3.
Wow,
no,
it was
holy shit,
2006.
March 2006. Man, I shouldn't second guess myself on game releases. So that was a period where I was really into Final Fantasy games. Like,
Same.
I had played 7 through 10 and liked all of them. Tactics, I had played 4 at that point, I believe, or I was playing 4. And, like, up to that point, there hadn't been a Final Fantasy that I had played that I didn't at least find something enjoyable about. Mm-hmm. And then 12 happened, and I didn't like anything about it at the time. Like, the combat... We've talked about the combat system before. Like, it's a bad combat system, at least early on in the game, and I never got through it to know if it got better.
Uh-huh.
Like, the characters weren't really all that interesting. Like, they pulled in the fucking judges from Tactics Advanced because this also happens in Evil East, the realm from Tactics.
Yeah, they want to call it the realm from Tactics, but it's fucking... No, it's not.
But
like,
yeah,
it is, but it's like so divorced from the original Tactic.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, that game was just not... Like, I was so excited for that, And then like, cause I remember going to GameStop, like I don't really buy steel cases like on purpose. Like sometimes they're just there, but like I got the steel case for it and everything. Like I was excited for that game. And then I was just immediately fucking disappointed.
Same.
Yeah, I can totally understand that.
And then my very last one, and I'm curious to see what you guys think of this. The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Huh.
So there's a caveat to it though. I'm disappointed that it's not a Zelda game. I think it's a very good game though.
I mean, I can see what you're saying. It's also similar to like Pokemon, very lacking of puzzles, very like I don't know. I feel like it does stick to the heart of like an original Legend of Zelda, where it just throws you into this world.
But that's it. That's like, the only thing that's kind of like Zelda-y. Like I go to a Legend of Zelda game for puzzles and dungeons and stuff like that. And Breath of the Wild did so many cool, innovative things. It's an amazing game.
Yeah.
It is the worst Legend of Zelda game.
Yeah, I mean, I can totally understand. I can understand that. Like, I wouldn't say it's the worst Legend of Zelda game, but I understand where you're coming.
No, that's true, because there is like that 3DO Zelda, like the Wand of Gamelon. Like that's
Skyward
actually the worst.
Sword exists.
Skyward Sword is a really good Zelda game.
Is it? I thought, or wait, is that
we
the
talked
one?
about this before. Apparently, it is actually more. It is more favorable than we think it is. Like everyone talks shit on it, but if you go back and look at like Metacritic for it, which I know I said before doesn't fucking matter, it actually reviewed pretty well.
Yeah.
Sure, but I feel like the general consensus on that game was bullshit. Fuck that game.
That was the Wii. That was because all the Wii control stuff.
It was the motion controls. Like everyone hated on it or wanted to hate on it because it was the motion controls, and even more so with Skyward Sword because it was they had the new pristine motion controls that like it wasn't just waggle. It was like you actually had to swing a specific way, and if you missed your swing, you would miss and shit. Like people hated it for that, but it was I played through. It was a really good game, and it's like it like story wise was fantastic.
Which I believe that, and yeah, I mean that's Breath of the Wild, fantastic game. Like did so many things that games hadn't done before. It's not a good Zelda. Now I don't know if you guys realize this. On July 11th, 2014. We did a Friday 5 most disappointing games.
Oh, hey, how about that?
Rich, you actually did not do one this particular week. But Drew, you did.
Okay. The fuck did I put on my list?
Would you care to guess what your number 1 and number 2 games were?
It's Final Fantasy Tactics and Final Fantasy or Tactics Advance and Final Fantasy 12.
It is. You also had on here Watch Dogs, Madden NFL 07 for PS3.
Okay.
And any PS2 era EA NHL game.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right. Watch Dogs, I super wanted to like, but then realized it was just a GTA clone. And like I said, I don't like Rockstar's games. It felt like a Rockstar game, so I was like fucking noped out on it real fast. I'm gonna. I had like little blurbs for things about the games, right? Do you still have it up, Cobb?
Oh yeah, I still have it up.
Okay, Madden 07. Did I talk about it being like there was some bullshit about trying to play that co-op? Like I feel like you could not play 2 players on the same team.
So here's what you said. The PS3 version of Madden 07 was awful. It was missing so many of the features that the PS2 version had, and then in parentheses, franchise mode, co-op play being the 2 most glaring omissions that my brother and I were missing.
Okay, yeah.
So,
because that 04 to 06 run of Maddens on PS2, like my brother and I would either do each do a franchise mode. A couple times we would do franchise modes together, I'm pretty sure. But then also a lot of times we'd just be like, all right, we're going to play the 2 of us against the computer and just bullshit around. And fucking that Madden 07 did not have it at all. And it was like,
which is so fucking weird.
Well, it was the first one on the new gen, and it was like, oh, it was the start of the trend where at the beginning of a new generation they fuck up a game because they're like, oh, well, we couldn't figure out how to make it work on the new system, so just take out a bunch of the things and put the basic game out.
Right, because 07 would have released in August of 06, and then it would have launched on the PS3 that fall, but it would have been on PS2 prior.
Yep.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so for what it's worth, the only game on my 5 in 2014 that was on this one was Final Fantasy 12. That was my number 1 in 2014.
What were your what were your others?
I also had Zombie U,
Okay.
Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag,
Okay.
Tactics Advanced, and Diablo 3.
Okay.
And this was before I had dipped back into anything that they had done to Diablo 3 since launch.
Mm-hmm.
Where like
that was probably even pre. Well, it was. I wonder if that was pre Loot 2.0.
it was just post Reaper of Souls.
Oh, okay, then no.
So like I have since gone back into it and actually have very fond things to say about that game, but at the time it was like, yeah, like this was fine, like it was Diablo for like 4 hours, but like that was that.
Yeah.
And they definitely made that game much better over the next like 5 or 6 years that it yeah. But yeah, I just thought that was funny, like when I didn't think about looking for the Friday 5 until after I'd come up with my list. And then I looked on the site real quick earlier this afternoon, and I'm just like, oh shit, we did this.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's just a bummer, Rich, that you hadn't done one 5 or 6 years ago, 7 years ago, however long ago that was now.
I think I did them like once a month.
Yeah, you did dip in and out of them, especially in 2014.
Yeah, I think 2014 was, I don't know, 2014 was a year. That's all I think that was when I started my current job, but I don't know. But there was a reason why I like kind of dipped out of it. It was also, I was kind of losing interest in the website because of somebody will keep nameless that I don't want to ever talk about again, because he was a douche and was always an asshole to me. So like I kind of was just like, all right, I'm just not going to do much for a while.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
But we went long on this, and we still got 2 more topics to go into.
Yeah, I think that the next 2 are probably going to be a little shorter.
Yeah.
Drew, what did you think of Hannibal?
I liked it a lot more than I expected. Because, I mean, y'all know my feelings on scripted shit in general.
Scripted. Yeah. And this is a, like Silence of the Lambs type of thing, right?
It's essentially a prequel, I guess. Like,
and I think it's like a prequel to Red Dragon also, isn't it?
Yes. Or okay. I mean, like, at least based on where the movies would be, it's a prequel. It's not directly related to those, but where it goes would be before any of the stuff, especially in Silence of the Lambs. I don't know 100% about Red Dragon, but it's based on those characters from the novel.
Yeah, well, okay. So I think the Will Graham. I'm looking at the Wikipedia. Will Graham, like the main not Hannibal guy, the criminal profiler.
Yeah,
he was played by Edward Norton in Red Dragon, which I believe was like the movie that involved the capture of Hannibal.
Probably.
Like I think it was one of those things where like he became like friendly with him and then found out he was a fucking murdering cannibal.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I don't know why I expected it to be more like a Law and Order type procedural where there would be like some running themes between the characters, but then it would be like, okay, here's the criminal this week, here's the criminal next week, here's the case the next week, where it was more like season-long thing for the crimes they were trying to solve.
And with a really good cast.
Oh, the cast is great, the characters are great. Honestly, I got a little, especially at the very beginning, the relationship between Hannibal and Will kind of reminded me of House and Wilson.
Oh, yeah,
House.
You know what?
Like, in a way more fucked up manner, but like, I got that vibe from it, which I was like, okay, I dig this. And like, and also throw in like the other people on the forensic team kind of also sort of fitting the roles of House's diagnostic team. I was like, okay, like, I dig these characters. And all the actors were really good. The imagery and the cinematography is amazing. Like, it's super well shot. Everything's done with a purpose. Like, if there's something on the screen, it probably mattered. It was there for a reason. And, like, I think the only negative I can really say about it is occasionally there were things that I was like, how the fuck does nobody see this thing happening? Like,
That's like a lot of those like crime shows though. Like,
so like I think it's like early season 2. Like, someone builds a giant fucking totem pole out of human bodies on a beach, and fucking nobody saw this person bringing this here. Like, what the fuck?
I remember that. I think that was either like late season 1 or early season 2.
Yeah, I can't
we never
remember.
finished the series. I think we only watched like halfway through season 2.
It's one of those two for sure. My friend will, when she listens, be like, "How do you not remember where it was?" But I'm like, how is this a crime that needs to be solved? Nobody saw this happening. Like, this did not just like happen in like an hour overnight. Like, this took a shit ton of time because it's like this 30-foot totem pole of dead bodies.
Well, maybe they like built them in segments, put them in the back of like a U-Haul, and then like just drove them there, dumped them on the beach, and like put it together like in a few hours overnight.
Still, like, but like again, it led to a super cool shot when you first saw this fucking thing. It was like, oh, what the fuck? But then I was like, wait, how the fuck did nobody see this being built? But yeah, like, and I guess the ending kind of is a bit of a disappointment, but that was kind of, it was the thing where they didn't know the show was going to get canceled, and so they had kind of a cliffhanger ending, and then there's no resolution to that.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah, I know they shopped it around for a while and just couldn't find anybody to pick it up.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it streaming right now, though?
It's on Netflix for one more day.
Oh, fuck. Well, never mind.
It goes, well, one more day as of when this goes up. It's on there till the 4th. And I haven't seen anything about it going anywhere else anytime soon.
Oh, that is a bummer.
The Blu-ray, the complete series on Blu-ray is like $20 on Amazon.
Oh, that's really not bad. Yeah, that's not bad at all. That I really did like that first season of that show, and I don't know why we fell off in the second season, but we did.
It gets a bit more weird, which is kind of hard for how that show even starts to imagine it getting weirder. But like, I could see why some people would fall off, but at the same time, like, it's 39 episodes total.
Yeah, I feel like watching that like on like a like where you can just kind of like watch it at your own pace rather than like weekly is probably just an easier way to do it too.
Yeah.
Like being able to watch like an episode a night or like an episode every other day or what have you, and just kind of like, especially those bits where it drags, like just to get through them.
Mm-hmm. So I mean, I'll say I don't feel like any of it really dragged too much. Like,
oh, well, that's good.
I would wind up watching it usually at like 4 or 5 episodes at a time, but then would like get busy and not be able to watch it for like 2 weeks, and then here's another 4 episodes.
Okay. Huh. Yeah, I might keep an eye on like Just Watch and see where it ends back up.
Yeah, like, who knows? It could go back on Netflix. It could go onto Peacock. Like, I don't.
Oh, I
is
hope
that
not.
An NBC show?
It was on NBC, but I don't know that NBC made it.
Yeah,
because that's where that stuff always gets a little weird.
Yeah.
Let me see who made this show. Sony Pictures actually was the distributor.
Okay.
So if anything, it should go to Hulu.
Yeah, maybe Hulu, or I mean, it could even end up on like an HBO Max or something like that.
Yeah. I would definitely, if you like cop shows that are super gory, like, it definitely gave me a bit of X-Files vibe, especially considering Gillian Anderson's in the show.
Mm-hmm.
I enjoyed it, so
yeah.
Okay,
that's great. It's awesome to hear that you enjoyed a scripted show.
Yeah, which is very rare. Out of curiosity, have you thought about checking out the Clarice show that's on NBC?
I have not, but I might.
I will tell you up front, it is not as good as Hannibal.
Then maybe not.
It's like a different kind of interesting. Like, it's about Clarice post Buffalo Bill.
Okay.
So it's kind of like her being sort of a she's like a reluctant public figure to an extent. Like, she's kind of like a celebrity because of that high profile case and her being the one to catch them and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
But like the show revolves around like her work with the FBI and like finding like other criminals and killers and stuff like that. It's interesting. It's just, it doesn't have the same like oomph that Hannibal had.
Okay.
Yeah.
But anything else on Hannibal?
No, that's all, I think.
And so I think you can go into Cobb. You watched some of Gundam 00, right?
Yeah. So I'm planning, whether I actually have time to do it all, to kind of try and watch all of the main Gundam shows.
Okay.
I'm not going to talk about them every week, so don't worry about that. I might, I'll check in twice, maybe 3 times if like something particularly crazy happens in the middle of a show.
Okay.
The only catch is not all of them are available streaming or even like for digital purchase. So that's going to hamper my abilities a little bit. I'm going to have to like find like the Blu-rays for stuff and things like that. I particularly want to get through the Universal Century, which was like the original timeline from like Mobile Suit Gundam through like the early 90s.
Yeah.
And then there were a few other times it popped up since then. But I started with Gundam 00 because it was kind of, it's not the most recent series, but it's a more recent one. And it's from what I remember, it was generally well received at the time.
Yeah, it would make sense with a watch through like this to like kind of watch one of the ones that are like least offensive, like, and not offensive as in like they say bad shit, but offensive as in like the animation's gonna be good and like the sound quality's gonna be good.
Yeah, like Mobile Suit Gundam, the original from '79, is available on Funimation and maybe Hulu. I'm not sure about that, but it's also from 1979, and I've seen most of it. So that like that's the one like sort of like catch with Gundam stuff. Anything released between 79 and like 2000, I've probably seen at least a few episodes of. Because in the early 2000s, I downloaded a lot of anime illegally. And I didn't always finish things, but I started a whole bunch of shows. But yeah, so this was one that I had never seen before. It was kind of like post that period of me really like following stuff like closely. It ran from 2007 to 2009. It's 50 episodes. It was actually split up across 2 seasons, which I didn't think Gundam did. I thought it was usually just a straight like 50 episodes. Mm-hmm. This one felt so far, I'm about a third of the way through it. It feels like it's trying to be a little more like grounded in our reality. Just in the future, like it's set in 2307 AD, which I think is actually supposed to be like our AD, not like all the other Gundam shows. Like you have like your Universal Century, your After Colony, like
okay,
they all have different like timeline like things that they use to distinguish themselves. And it's usually based around like when people started living in space. But this one is actually like AD, and the world is split up into like 3 superpowers basically. And there are elevators that go into space, which I think is kind of cool. So rather than it being like these like space stations that people live on and space colonies, which I'm used to from like the original Gundams and like Gundam Wing and stuff, it's, you know, elevators with like once you get up into space, it seems like they're like these giant like resorts and stuff like that. Like they have like these elaborate shopping malls and restaurants and all different stuff you can do, but it's just like it's an elevator ride to get back to Earth.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's a very long elevator ride, but it's still just an elevator ride.
They had a space elevator in Avengers. It takes like an
hour. But yeah, so all the mobile suits in this show are more like tank-like than Gundam. Mm-hmm. So like even like the non-Gundam mobile suits that you think of, like the Zaku's and stuff like that, like they still, in my memory at least, they still kind of fought more like a person than a tank.
Yeah.
And a lot of like the mobile suits that they show are kind of more like lumbering tank-like things that like they can't just like take off into the air. Like they have to actually like extend like thrusters and stuff like that to like get any sort of like vertical lift. They're starting to introduce like more mobile ones, or agile, I guess would be a more better name. Like they're thinner and like they can fly a little bit easier and can do more like elaborate things. But then you have the Gundams that are just fucking tearing through everybody, and they can fly on their own and do all sorts of cool shit. It's got a similar setup to Gundam Wing, where do you guys remember Gundam Wing at all?
I maybe saw like an episode. Like the only Gundam series I've ever actually tried to watch through was like G Gundam.
That was a good one. I liked G Gundam.
Yeah, because that was the one where like it was like the tournament or whatever to rule Earth or something like that. Like
yeah, like whatever country won became like the ruling country for like the next X amount of years.
Yeah. So like that's really the only one I have any sort of memory of, and that was watched on Cartoon Network.
Yeah, that one was badass because the one dude also had a horse, and his horse also went into a mobile suit.
Yeah.
Because they were the ones where, like, they weren't piloted like a normal, like, mech. That, like, it wasn't like Steel Battalion. Yeah. They had, like, this thing which close over them and then open back up, and they'd be in, like, a jumpsuit, and it would be their movements.
It was very Pacific Rim.
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that, like, the one dude had a giant robot horse that he put his actual real-life horse into to pilot was just awesome.
That's insane.
But yeah, so Gundam Wing was 5 pilots that were not connected to each other, all kind of came to Earth separately. And then they found out that, like, they actually all were kind of working towards the same thing. It's just the people that enlisted them basically didn't tell them that there were others.
Yeah.
This one, it's a similar setup, only, like, the 4 Gundam pilots, who are called Gundam Meisters, all know each other. Like, they are on the same team, but they're not involved with any one organization or any one country or what have you. Like, they're their own kind of paramilitary group that are trying to end wars by basically showing up where there's conflict and just fucking wrecking everybody so there's no one left to have a conflict.
Yeah.
Very early on, they show up, in the first episode, they basically show up, destroy a new prototype mobile suit that one group is showing off, and then head towards one of these space elevators to lure another one of the country groups to release all of their mobile suits to show that they were actually breaking the law by having too many mobile suits surrounding, like, the pillar that is the elevator.
Okay.
So, like, it's weird, like, kind of what they're doing, but
it's crazy how political an anime about giant robot suits can.
And a lot of the Gundams are always based around some sort of war or conflict. Like, that's their thing. A lot of them, though, are more based about, like, I can't even say a lot of them. So the Universal Century stuff, and then Gundam Seed, which I'll talk about when I actually watch that one again. Mm-hmm. They were very much like a kid finds a Gundam and climbs into it and pilots it and becomes, like, the only person that can pilot it. So they basically get constricted into the army.
Yeah, it's very Gurren Lagann-esque.
Yeah, kind of. And, like, they always, like, write it off as, like, oh, this kid is a coordinator or is a new type, and they have some sort of, like, preternatural abilities that makes them able to do that.
Yeah.
So far, they haven't really gotten into any of that with 00. They have kind of they've told us that one of these country establishments was basically, like, developing, like, super soldiers. Mm-hmm. It hasn't really gone really well, though. It seems like they only have one. So that is one of, like, the enemies of the Gundams right now, is this, like, super soldier. But one of the Gundam Meisters also was kind of, like, put through this program against their will. And they seem to have, like, a bit of, like, a split personality. And whenever they come into contact with this other pilot that it went through the same program, they both get these, like excruciating headaches. And a lot of times it makes them kind of, like, rage out. Like, the female pilot that is, like, the enemy, ends up actually, like, going berserk and shooting at the, one of, like, the pieces of the space things where people, like, live and do stuff off the elevator, causing it to break away from the rest of it and start floating through space and actually, headed towards Earth, where it would have killed everybody on board had one of the other Gundams not saved it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's like they're doing a lot of interesting things in it. And I'm sure, like, some of the later Gundams have done similar stuff. Like, I know Iron-Blooded Orphans is also very popular. And that one was from just a few years ago. But, you know, for something that's, like, 10 years old, like, it feels like it's a world that could happen someday.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. Gundam's always been, like, a cool series. It's just, like with comic books, there's so much, I just don't know where to start.
Yeah, the nice thing with Gundam, outside, like, you can basically watch any Gundam show. It's kind of like Final Fantasies. They're all pretty standalone, if like, we're talking, like, the full series. The only kind of, like, criteria you really have is if it's, like, the Universal Century shows, there are, like, nods and callbacks to, like, the other ones in a lot of ways. I think the only two, like, legitimate direct sequels that I can think of would be Zeta Gundam and ZZ or Double Zeta, however it's pronounced, Gundam, which were like, they were in the 80s. They were sequels to the original Mobile Suit Gundam, but like they were direct continuations of each other. Mm-hmm. And then Gundam Seed and Gundam Seed Destiny were direct continuations of each other.
Okay, yeah.
Like everything else, like you could watch the original Mobile Suit, you could watch Wing, G Gundam, Double O, all of those things, like they're literally in their own alternate universes, so there's nothing really connecting them. Very much like Final Fantasy, they've got little things that sort of are nods to the other shows. Like most series have these. You guys have probably seen them before. It's a little robot balls that have like the flappy ear wing things on them. They're called Haru.
Maybe.
If you saw one, you'd be like, "Oh, that thing." I bet.
Yeah.
We've been to enough anime conventions. We would recognize it if we saw it.
True.
Yeah, I'm actually just going to send you guys a picture real quick if I can find my fucking Facebook. Like those dudes pop up in most of them. There's usually a bad guy with some sort of like mask on them, like that like obscures their identity for the most part. Until like later on in the series where you find out like who that really is.
And it's the main character's brother or sister or family member or long lost twin clone.
Yeah, like
right?
in Gundam Wing, it was very much that. One of like a main female character finds out that she was adopted, and then like halfway through the thing she finds out that like her older brother is actually this villain.
Yeah.
And yeah. It's like stuff like that, like is very common between a lot of the series. Haven't met a dude with a mask so far in this one. Little disappointed.
You probably have, but he's wearing a bionic mask that changes his face. So he's gonna take that off, kind of similar to like what Black Widow would do in the Avengers, and so he's got a mask of somebody else's face.
Well, I mean, people have masks on in this, but this is a very specific kind of mask.
Yeah.
It's kind of like it's like a half mask. It's usually white with like a pointed nose. Mm-hmm. And just there's been like 3 or 4 different series off the top of my head that I know had a character that wore a similar mask.
Yeah. So
it's one of those things I kind of like associate with all of them. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so far it's good. Like I said, I'm about a third of the way through it, so I still have quite a bit to go. And I'm interested to see what happens. And I'm waiting for like new Gundams to happen because that always seems to happen too. Like one of the main characters' Gundams will be destroyed, and they will get like a new, more powerful version of their Gundam.
Yeah.
So just gotta kind of wait for that, I guess.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So before we wrap up, I have a quick question for you, Rich.
Uh-huh.
How did it feel to not have a Godzilla movie to watch this week?
It was weird.
Like, did you wake up on Saturday and like go to open up HBO Max, like just out of habit?
No, it actually, this weekend was a busy weekend for me. And so this upcoming weekend. So, like, I didn't have a chance to really, like, be like, man, I don't know what to do without Godzilla. So, it might not really affect me, but for the most part, it was kind of like, man, I don't know what to do. And then on Sunday, I had played, like, 6 hours of No Man's Sky or something. And, like, an additional 7 hours on Saturday, so it was, like,
Jesus.
fun.
Yeah.
I played a lot of No Man's Sky.
So, you made do without Godzilla.
Yeah. And I have a story about No Man's Sky that I'll, if I remember about it, I'll talk about it next.
Okay, well, make a note so you don't forget. But yeah, I think that'll do it for this week. Do either of you have anything else you want to talk about, bring up for next week, anything like that?
Not that I can think of.
I don't, but any, like, kind of community questions we want to throw at the listeners? Anything? Like, if you guys can't think of one, I've got one. We talked about it on the show.
Go for it.
If you guys want to email us, comment on the socials, whatever, let us know your picks for disappointing games. What was a game that wasn't necessarily bad, but it was just disappointing to you or in your opinion or just overall?
And you can feel free to say Final Fantasy Tactics Advanced. 2/3 of us agree.
I agree too. That's not.
I wasn't sure if you'd played it, so.
I did. I really enjoyed it, but I understand the disappointment and I can agree.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah. In a month we will talk about Terminator Dark Fate. Next week we'll probably do a little bit of something for predictions for E3 since that'll be starting up. Mm-hmm. But otherwise, we will be back next week. If you want to find more of our content, sorry, I got confused there. If you want to find more of our content, you can head to www.one-quest.com. You can also support us, like we said at the top of the show, by going to patreon.com/onequest. If you can't support us there with dollars, you can always go to your favorite podcast platform like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Amazon Music. Rate us, review us, subscribe to us. Those things all help a whole bunch. You can also find us on social media, facebook.com/OneQuestOnline or at @1_Quest on Instagram and Twitter. Our YouTube channel is youtube.com/OneQuestVideo. And you can always send us an email to social@one-quest.com. But that'll do it for this week. We'll be back next week with something else to talk about. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye.